approve the minutes from last meeting. You all have a copy of those. Are there any additions or deletions? And if not, I have a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. You have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. The next item on the agenda is public hearings. We have 6 public hearings tonight. The first one is for a short form subdivision for Windcrest Estates, divide 1 lot into 3 lots. The letter requesting that is from Alan Walker of Walker Brothers Estates. We would like to request a short form subdivision for property located on Dalkey Road for the purpose of making 3 lots on Lake Potomac. If you don't know, this is the area behind CRNC. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this request? Yes. Please come forward and speak into that microphone and give us your name and where you live, and that way you'll get on the record. Otherwise, who knows?
John Smith, Cullman, Walker. I want to build a single dwelling on a property for some storm victims.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Smith? Thanks, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this request? Hearing none, this public hearing is closed. The next public hearing is a short form subdivision, Inglewood subdivision, divide 1 lot into 8 lots. Letter requesting that reads as follows. To whom it may concern, please find enclosed all documents concerning the request to develop property located inside the city limits of Cullman. Our desire is to construct single dwelling residences in a section that is zoned R2, and we wish to keep this zoning R2. This is a 4-acre tract of land, and we wish to divide into 8 lots. Thank you in advance for your consideration. Is there anyone to speak in favor of this request?
Basically, what we want to do is subdivide this here and build single dwelling homes, 13, 14, square foot range. So.
Any questions from Mr. Dover? Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to this request? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed.
I have a question.
Okay, please come forward and state your name and where you live.
My name is Jamie Morris. I live on Hickory Avenue. I'm a 19-year resident. Is this concerning on the Hickory Avenue?
Rick's got a drawing right here that he can show you.
I'm wondering if this is concerning one of these.
Why don't you look at the drawing?
Create 3 lots here. Create 5 lots back here. Just that property that's got the drainage.
Right. Okay. I was just wondering how many. Is this going to be apartments?
Single family houses. 1,500 square foot house on each lot.
And how many dwellings would that be altogether? In this, I think you said it was 4-acre tract.
They sell all the lots and create 8 lots.
Okay. I was wondering how many of these single dwellings there would be altogether.
8 lots.
There'll be 8 dwellings.
8 dwellings.
8 dwellings. 1 dwelling per lot. And in this zoning, apartments aren't permitted.
It's what?
Apartments are not permitted in R2 zoning, which is what this is.
Okay. No, that helps answer a question.
Also, the houses.
Okay.
I think you said about 1,500 square feet there.
Okay.
Any other questions, sir?
I just wanted to ask me a few things. He's got the white family, that land right there. Okay. I don't know what I think it's the land. That's pretty good thing. Okay.
I have a question.
Will you please tell me? Give us your name and address.
I'm Jack Pelletier. I live at the corner of Cleveland and Tidwell. What's the median value of these buildings?
As far as what the houses are sell for, anywhere from $129 to $149.
hearing is a short form subdivision, RKM Development, Cherokee Avenue Southwest and Olive Street Southwest, divides one lot into two lots. The letter requesting that is from J. Cullman Williams of Goodwin Mills in Kaywood, and it reads as follows. Goodwin Mills in Kaywood, on behalf of 69 Olives LLC, is requesting to subdivide the existing parcel of land at the intersection of Cherokee and Olive from one lot into two lots. The property is nearing the end of construction of the two buildings that were previously reviewed by the city of Cullman and approved for construction. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this request? Hearing none, is there anyone to speak in opposition to this request? Hearing none, this public hearing is closed. The fourth public hearing. Request to rezone property by Paul Moskis on Highway 31 near Highway 157 to B2. The letter requesting this rezoning is from Paul Moskis, and it reads as follows. The purpose of this letter is to request that the property of the short form subdivision that consists of one lot located along Highway 31 north of Cullman be zoned to a B2 business district. A survey for this property is on file at the City of Cullman Building Inspection Department. Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this request? Hearing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this request?
I'll have to bear with me tonight, and we'll hide those spread zones, so we know. Just like the one that's 1600 Northwood. I just want to explain my nervousness and everything. This thing went around about 3 times.
Give me your name and address.
I did. So you not there?
I didn't hear it.
Gene McDonald, 1600 Northwood Drive. I'm sorry. They went around about 3 times. Now they started out 3 lots, and it's going to be residential. Now they're going back to business and change it back to 1 lot. Who knows what they're going to do? But I want to know about the zoning of the B2. What all does that pertain to? Can you sell liquor license and stuff like that? Is it just strictly business? What does it contain?
B2, as far as the liquor license goes, the way to think of that is that a B1, B2, B3, there's those levels of business. You can sell beer and wine in all of those.
Okay.
In B2, which is what this is being requested as, you can sell hard liquor. In other words, you can have a package store that sells hard liquor that can be taken out and put in your car and drive off. Or, in other words, an ABC store, if you want.
Right.
That's the biggest difference when you think about the liquor laws, B2 compared to the other.
But there's no debate about that, what goes to B1, 2, or 3, right?
Well,
I mean, you can't arbitrate that fact. Whatever they ask for is what they're going to get. But
well,
if it's approved, then
Article 2 has to be zoned according to adjacent zone. In other words, you couldn't just pick a zoning out of thin air
okay.
and say, I want that, because it's typically zoned according to adjoining zone. More across the road is B2.
All right. At the previous meetings, 2 or 3 or how many we had, there was a mention of buffer zone between Northwood and the adjoining property. Is that still going to be addressed? Is that gone by the wayside, or is it got to be brought up again?
the way the system works is first there's a request to rezone the property.
Yes.
And if that takes place, then whenever the individual wants to build a business on that piece of property, that request has to come before the planning commission again. And at that point, a buffer zone or whatever, that's when that subject comes up. And the reason that subject comes up is because in the actual ordinance, it says that if the B2 business adjoins a residential neighborhood, that there has to be some either a buffer of landscape type buffer or a fence.
Right.
And so that's, this tonight, we're not going to address that issue because it doesn't come on to what's going on tonight.
I understand.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Is anything being decided tonight about as far as the access in and out to this property, where it would be located at? How they would get to, whether it be through Northwood Drive or off of 31? Is that a decision being made tonight, or is this just strictly the go and lead to, and then that's something else that would be looked at some point in time when something was to be constructed?
At this point, correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, this is strictly the zoning. We're gonna decide what the zoning is, and that, what you just described, access is a later.
That's based on what type of business, how much traffic, time of day of the flow, and Alabama DOT has control of the driveways there also. So there's a lot of entities that will be involved in driveways.
When they decide what they want to put up there, then we.
I don't think that there will be any access at the north end personally. I don't think there's any way to make it work. I don't think it works the Northwood Drive.
That's what I was
I
hoping
don't
to hear.
think DOT, well, again, DOT is involved.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any way to make it work based on their standards. I'd be amazed if they could. I suspect the access to the center of the property or farther south. But again, DOT makes a decision on that. And
You bring up a very good point, that the property does have access issues. It's just-
Right. And I didn't think that was being decided tonight, but I just wanted to have to clarify that a bit at a different time, and like you say, hopefully whatever's there, I hope it does not come into Northwood Drive.
And one other issue too, to make sure everybody understands, this board cannot rezone property. This board makes a recommendation to the city council. The city council then also holds hearings relating to the same property. 99% of the time, they follow the planning commission's recommendations.
So so say this is approved, and when they get to the point of construction or something, and you get into access issues now, is that the DOT's and whatever?
It's a joint venture between the DOT. The DOT can say, yes, you can have a driveway here if, let's say, for example, you build a terminal. The DOT can say, no, you cannot have a driveway here. The DOT can say, yes, you can have a driveway here. The planning commission then can say, no, we're not going to approve that.
So they still have the final
Say it's
say on that as well.
But as Rick was making the point, that being Highway 31, Alabama has no vanilla on it.
They have local control.
That's okay. That's all I know. Thank you.
But again, ALDOT can approve a driveway, and the planning commission can say no. But the planning commission cannot force ALDOT to allow driveways. So it's sort of a one-way street.
But that's not a decision that would be.
The final say sits right there.
This currently is R1 zone. The request is to change it from R1 to B2. Is there anyone else in opposition to this request? Hearing none, this public hearing is closed. Our fifth public hearing is a request to vacate the easement right-of-way at the Catholic Cemetery. This is requested by the following letter. To whom it may concern. Our church cemetery is almost completely full. We have purchased additional property to expand the cemetery. There is an unused city easement or right-of-way separating the two properties. It is obvious that the easement right-of-way will never be of any use to the city. It is our request that the city abandon its easement or sell its right-of-way so that the cemetery can be expanded without the gap in the middle, and the property can be used to the best of its potential. Thank you for consideration in this matter, Reverend Patrick Egan, pastor. Is there anyone who speaks in favor of this request? Is there anyone who speaks in opposition to this request? Hearing none, this public hearing is closed. Our final public hearing. Request to vacate 5-foot strip of land at 309 3rd Avenue Southwest. The letter requesting that reads as follows. Whom it may concern. This is a request for the city of Cullman to vacate a 5-foot strip of land across the middle of part of lot number 238 in the city of Cullman, owned by Boots Hill and Dr. Is there anyone to speak in favor of this request?
My name is Jeff Hill. I reside at 2220 Lakeshore Drive in Cullman, Alabama. We had this property under contract to sell, and through means of a title search, we found out that there was a 5-foot strip deeded to the city in 1935. No idea why it was, but it runs through the building. Anybody would like to see that, I can show you a picture of it. If you have any questions, we will respectfully ask you to planning commission vacate that property.
Any questions for Mr. Hill?
I
Thank you.
think the utility departments have decided there's a sewer, public sewer. Chris has been researching that, and I think he's found the sewer line based on the other buildings. So we may have to try to find a way to reroute that.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in opposition to this request? Hearing none, this public hearing is closed. Next category on our agenda is subdivisions. The first item is a short form subdivision for Windcrest Estates, divide one lot into 3 lots. The request letter has previously been read. Let me now read into the record the comments from the various departments. In the building department, their comment is lots meet or exceed R3 requirements and have proper access to roads. I need to clarify that. Obviously, R1 is a much broader, requires larger lots than other residences, but that actual zoning out there is R3. It's not R1 as that letter says. If you want to make that correction. The street department comments are as follows. Okay, as long as drainage is not going to be affected in a negative way that would require the city to do repairs to fix any problems arising from this short form subdivision. The gas company comments are gas can be available on request. Just call. The city arborist, the co-op, sanitation department, fire department, power ward, and wastewater department have no comments. This seems to be fairly straightforward, and a motion would be in order to approve the short form subdivision. Is there a second? All in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. The second subdivision is short form subdivision, Inglewood subdivision, divide one lot into 8 lots. The request letter has been read into the record already. Comments from the building department are as follows. The city council will have to abandon the sewer easement. Lots meet the minimum size, square footage, and street frontage. Owners coordinate with Cullman Power Board on easements before recording of the subdivision. Street department comments. Okay, as long as drainage is not affected in a way that would have a negative impact on the surrounding areas, requiring the city to do repairs to remedy the created problem. Wastewater department. The 30-foot wide sewer easement needs to be vacated and moved to run the west side of the concrete plume. Power board. Cullman Power Board will need additional easements as shown in order to accommodate new facilities required to provide electrical service to these lots as well as existing facilities. The police department has no police concerns. The gas company, fire department, sanitation, and co-op have no comments. It appears that that a motion to approve this is in order as long as it's contingent upon the sewer easement being vacated and moved to the west side of the concrete plume as suggested by the street department.
I need to ask the board to make 2 motions on that.
And we will. Yes.
One would approve the subdivision. The second would be a recommendation to the city council to abandon the sewer easement since the board can't do it.
Right. So in other words, we need a motion first of all to approve the short form subdivision request. And we can carries. Now that we've done that, if you look on your drawing, there is this sewer easement that runs through the middle of it. And we need to make a recommendation to the city council that the city council vacate that easement. And then Rick will take care of, the new one being on the western end of the property. So if we would like to make a motion to recommend this to the city council, that the easement be vacated.
I recommend we make a motion to the city council to vacate.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The third subdivision is a short form subdivision for RKM development, Cherokee Avenue Southwest and Olive Street Southwest, divide one lot into two lots. The request has already been read into the record. Comments from the building department. Requires a cross-access agreement between Lot A and Lot B for parking and driveways. Lots meet or exceed the minimum standard. The street department. Okay, drainage appears to go through existing pipe. The power board comments are Cullman Power Board will need easements as shown on sheet 1, C1. We did not require easements initially due to property being one lot. The gas company says gas mains and services to these buildings are complete. The water department, fire department, police department, sanitation, co-op, and arborists have no comments. Rick, I'd like to get a clarification too that the parking, as this thing is divided up, the required parking spaces are meet the ordinance as far as the square footage of those buildings and what they're used for.
The parking does meet the requirements. There are enough spaces. The problem is the way they're subdividing the property. The telephone store, which is one to the right when you turn in, cannot access their front parking spaces without crossing into a lot. So even though they make sure that everybody has access to their own parking spaces.
Thank you. So in other words, we need a motion to approve this, if we're going to approve it with contingent and with the stipulation that a cross-access agreement be executed between Lot A and Lot B.
And we'll also make sure that they record the proper easements for the power board that they requested. Once they do that, then we can record that easement from having to come back before you again with the same one. I hope there'd be someone here tonight to represent them. Looks like they didn't make it.
Maybe they're out now.
In the morning.
Good point. So we need a motion basically. Appropriate motion would be to approve this contingent upon a cross-access agreement and upon the easements for the power company being granted.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Nay? The ayes have it. The next subject area is zoning. We have one item under zoning that's request to rezone property by Paul Notches on Highway 31 near Highway 157 to B2. The request letter has already been read into the record. The building department comments are as follows. Adjacent property is currently zoned B2. This property qualifies as B2 due to other B2 in the area. There are other commercial properties in this area. Street department comments. Okay. Power board, no objections. Fire department, no police concerns. The water department, fire department, sanitation department, co-op, and arborists have no comments. If I may, on this particular one, I would like to, if you will, frame the challenge that's before us on this particular property so that we can at least openly decide this subject. On one hand, you could look at this property and say that it's next to a subdivision that fronts Highway 31. It's crisscrossed by power lines, at least two, maybe three, if I counted right, and thus it's only suitable as commercial property. Plus, you could say that the surrounding residential property facing Highway 31 is ultimately destined to gradually become zoning is inevitable, and requested zoning of B2 allows most enterprises up to including our liquor sales. And so if you go down that path, use that hand if you will, we would recommend that it be rezoned from R1 to B2. On the other hand, if you're this property, you can say, well, it's surrounded by residential, and that residential in this area overwhelmingly dominates the west side of Highway 31. You can also argue that best practices avoid small strips of commercial zones, and this is what this would be. And that the requested rezoning potentially creates a cost to somebody, to either the city or the developer, to fix the access, either through the Northwoods Road access or with the cutover. Now you can get into the subdivision too, but somebody's going to have to do something if you put a business over there, and there's going to be some money flowing. So if you look at all those factors, you'd say, well, the commercial zoning as the property was asked is not necessarily the right choice. And our recommendation to the city council would be that the current zoning remain as is and not change to what was requested. Not that is to say that there aren't other ways to develop this property, but that's one way of looking at it. So to me, those are the two things: left hand, right hand, and right hand, left hand. Both those choices have obvious valid points for their case. Some of them are pretty sticky. And I think that whichever way we choose, that we should make our recommendation to the city council, because they're the ones that obviously do this, we don't. That recommendation outline our reasoning and our logic so that whenever they address this, they have that before them. So with that, I'll hush and say the floor is open for motions and discussion.
Did we have anybody, that's in the residential that is opposed to that? Adamantly opposed?
Mr. McDonald and Mr. Bedard were both opposed to that. And Rick, it probably would be helpful, that's a good question, Bob, because I think this is the third time we've looked at this piece of property. How about recapping the first time, what was it that we approved and didn't get filed, and then the next time?
At least the third time, maybe more. And the first time, they wanted to rezone all of it. And
That's 15 acres.
I think it was withdrawn. That was a couple of years ago. So then they decided to come back with a redesign, which incorporated a street that ran along the front, what we typically call the frontage road, that turned back to the right at 90 degrees to a third lot in the rear. And the expense of the frontage road, problems with the DOT, numerous issues came up with the design, and there was no way to make it work. The cost of the road access for the frontage road was more than the value of the property. So they withdrew that, decided not to record it. In August, I believe it was August, they came to you again and requested a subdivision of property, which created this lot along 31, which they're requesting to rezone, and this leaves the remainder of the property, which extends back into the residential area, a fairly large piece, and it leaves it as residential. And that was my recommendation to Mr. Moskis, that they leave all of that rear property adjoining all those houses. There are probably, just to guess, 10 to 12 houses along that property on the backside. And, you know, my opinion, and everybody has an opinion, and I don't have a vote, but my opinion was that property should remain residential back there. And he agreed with that, so they subdivided this front lot along 31 in hopes of getting it rezoned. So that's what brings us to this point here tonight.
And Bob, you bring up a good point. Mr. Moskis, or no one of his representatives chose to be here tonight, whereas in the past, the last two items on this commission now were coming, so maybe he's not that interested or didn't want to fix the neighbors. I don't know.
Well, usually we treat R1, kind of sacred. So this, as long as there's some way that's around it, like Rick says, that is the only use, long-term wise, that property, I guess we should consider it.
Well, I think, Rick obviously, has his opinion on it, and the long-term use of it. When I went and looked at it, it's got all the power lines on it, okay? And my rationale was, well, that decision was made whenever the property was to get across 31 to access this thing. And apparently there's already quite a bit of traffic on North Orange.
I had a pretty long conversation with, Samuel Stewart with DOT about this property, as a matter of fact, got him to visit the site. Because I had concerns about access to the site from the north end. There's no practical way to extend Cater Avenue into the site. The other issue you run into is that
And you say that that's because the McDonald property sits there,
Exactly.
and they have to give it up, which apparently they're not.
and another issue is the angle that Northwood Drive connects with Highway 31, so it makes a really bad intersection. The third issue is that any driveway constructed off Northwood Drive to this property would be too close to Highway 31 or Second Avenue to have a proper stacking lane, so that traffic turning into Northwood wanting to come into whatever's built there would have a real conflict with any traffic coming out of Northwood on 31. There's no stacking. There's one car there, you're blocked. So you're creating an intersection that I don't believe is acceptable. So I think any access to that property has to come along 31 frontage or at what we've been calling the TVA driveway, which is on the south end of the property. I don't think it's practical to put the driveways anywhere else on that property. And I don't think DOT is going to approve driveways anywhere else.
And if you look at that property, you know, you've got the TVA substation on the corner there. This property is like a horseshoe around it. So we're talking about the 31 access. Well, there's also access on 157 that you can access this property. Then, you know, so
You wouldn't be able to access the subdivided property. You could access the residential property.
you're absolutely right. And I suffer from the fact that we put those lines down and take those
There's been so many.
home.
This property's only access would be a roughly 30 feet, if memory is serving me correctly, off of Northwood, which is too close to 31 for an allowable driveway based on our ordinance. You can't do other things. Plus, the angle of Northwood Drive would make that prohibited. So again, my conversation with DOT, my feeling is driveways to this rezoned property, if it is rezoned, has to come off Highway 31. And it should be at the existing crossover on the south end of the property near the TVA substation. With internal driveways for the development, whatever it may be, and none on Northwood Drive. I don't think it works anywhere else.
And see what, back to your point, what I think is interesting here is that think about the complexity that we just described. This thing, you know, this thing's a mess. And if we then come along and say, okay, let's rezone it, have we created more complexity or reduced the complexity? Yeah, this sounds, I mean, ultimately, you know, ours is a recommendation, which I think should be rooted on, you know, some sort of logic that whatever that logic we want to use or not use, and then really the city council, they're the ones that have to make the decision. You know, I think we want to give them good, sound.
Let me give you a couple of other things to think about, and then you make your decision either way. But as far as residential property, number one, if you divide it into residential lots, they cannot have access to 31. So now you have to build streets into it, and the cost of the streets. I can give you a little background on Mr. Watts, just because I've heard the story since I've been involved. He was farming that land, and this was the father of the gentleman who requested it. The TVA came in there and needed room for a substation, and he sold them that property at a minimal cost at that time, because that was farmland, that was out of town. And they needed to run some lines in and out of it, and as I understand it, there was only one easement granted, which is the main transmission line running east and west. The north and south line didn't even have an easement. They wanted to pull that line, and he said, sure, go ahead, because he could farm under it, it didn't affect it. Well, now, 40 years later, things have changed, and that power line is basically dictating what can happen to that property. So that has become an issue. Makes it very difficult to develop this retail property at this time because of the street construction. There is some potential for retail. I think you protect your R1. That's the reason I suggested that the rear property remain residential and not be a part of this rezoning request. So then you decide, are we doing enough to protect that neighborhood once they get the buffer zone in place?
Can't build residential under the power line.
He won't be able to build structures under the power lines at all, but he can use it for parking lot. That is allowed.
No zoning allows St. John and Associates is requesting site plan review and approval for the new Allstate building and parking lot located at 323 Third Avenue Southeast. The plans have been produced following the City of Cullman planning and zoning regulations. The proposed building and parking lot will not create any adverse effects to downstream and/or adjacent properties and drainage structures. All existing measures taken to control stormwater will remain in place. If you have any questions or need additional information, please call me. It is signed by Dale Wright, the project manager. The comments from the building department are as follows. Stormwater from roof drains needs to be discussed. Conditional use with parking exception was granted at a previous planning commission meeting. Provide dumpster location acceptable to sanitation department. Sanitation department comments. Provide proper access for dumpster to be provided by sanitation superintendent. Gas company says gas is available. Police department has no police concerns. The street department is okay. Wastewater, fire department, co-op, and the city arborists all have no comments. Is there anyone present to make this request?
Hi, my name's Hal Gray, I'm the owner of that property. And what all we need to talk about? Something quick.
You would like to run off the list?
Well, this is what I would like to clarify. Whenever you were here before, and thank you for coming repeated times, we gave you a special exception to the parking requirements because of central businesses. And that stands. When I was looking at the drawings that were submitted, which we got the reduced ones, not the big, these size drawings, my concern is that the width of our traffic lanes through the city not be diminished. If you stand at the intersection of 3rd Avenue and 4th Street and look east, the Methodist Church, the road bumps in 3 or 4 feet. And if you go and stand and try to sight down on the south side of that road, or the parking lot area, it looks like it bumps in a little bit. From the drawings that I had, it looked like that the on-street parking was going to be such that the actual traffic lane would be diminished. And I talked with Rick, and he was saying, well, it could be all in just a portion of the drawing. So my real, not so much a question, but to say, I know we want more parking, but let's keep the width of the actual traffic lane the same. And if it means that instead of having diagonal parking on the south side of 4th Street, make it parallel like it is in front of or up by the telephone building. Because that's parallel.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing I think we want to do is it all be safe, even if we don't have quite as many parking lots.
Right.
And Rick, what does the big drawing say?
I think we can, you and I discussed it, I think we can change the angle of those parking spaces to a sharper angle and gain footage at the top.
The bottom line is,
I was hoping they would be here tonight to discuss that, but we had to do somewhere else.
we'll hold up against it.
But I'm hoping that by changing, those appear to be 45s, and I think we can bring those into 60s, which would mean you probably lose one space. But you could gain as much as 2 feet. You're concerned about the vehicles hanging out in the traffic light.
That's
And
right.
I think we can gain that.
And it's kind of hard to see right now because of the construction of the Methodist Church, and they got their fence out there to keep things from going on. But you think about if they were parked parallel, diagonally, and the other side is too, and the street's narrow,
Right.
it's already necking down anyway.
Yeah.
And so let's don't get too hung up about trying to have more parking because
Yeah,
we're
that
already
was
giving
the
you the
problem,
exception.
you know, whatever the best and what we'll do.
And I guess the other issue on this particular one is the actual location of the dumpster and how do you get to it. That's got to be specified for
Okay,
us if you will.
the dumpster will be behind the building. there's no power lines back here. The closest power line is gonna be right here.
You only just said it as a condition that the sanitation superintendent approve the location and the ideal.
We'll do it what he wants.
Sure, is that any issue, I guess that's off the parking lot with the Baptist church over there?
Yeah, that's, it's a
Is there,
concrete poured driveway.
I mean, is there any issues about getting an agreement for them to have access? For the city to have access?
There's probably 4 dumpsters back here now. I don't know who they belong to. One time they thought,
Say much about it.
one time they thought it was a city alley. I think now they're not sure. You know, they're not sure if it's been abandoned or what's going on with it, so. It may be our property, but we're not sure.
Well, that might be it, sounds like.
It's,
Concrete alley where there's been some discussion about who owns it.
yeah. That won't be a problem for you to have. Everybody down there, we all get along, and, I think right now, that, the big roll-off dumpster, I think, basically, just about everybody back in there is dead.
And you're right.
There's, between it and where my property is, where his coolers and freezers are gonna come out behind the building, there's gonna be enough room to put, a dumpster there, and I'll fix the concrete pad, I think will be easy enough for the dumpster to get in there anyway.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Mr. Gray?
Is there, on the parking lot across from Methodist Church, on the south side of the Methodist Church,
Yes, sir.
is this leased or is it owned?
It's owned. I don't own it, Mr. Matt Hines owns it, he's the one that's doing all the stuff. But that is his property.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's a time factor for the lease due to coincide with is yours a lease agreement with Allstate, or is it,
Yes.
in yours, is there a time factor difference in the leasing of the parking lot and your lease to the Allstate owners?
Well, he owns the parking lot.
What he's, can I clarify?
Yeah, please do.
What he's getting at is that if Matt gets tired of cooking, and decides to sell the restaurant to someone else, then whoever purchases that restaurant is going to pay that parking.
I'll put it in the papers from the contract.
We're trying to figure out how to tie that together.
That's what I'm trying to get the time to get.
What would Matt?
Should I get him to speak about that?
Yeah.
Say yes.
My name is, Matt Heim, I reside at, 215 County Road 1307 by my house. I guess the question is,
See, this restaurant was approved subject to that parking being available to that restaurant.
I guess it would be under recommendation, or it probably, whoever had the best idea, it's the best way to put it, you could probably write something up that, contingent on, me leaving the Allstate restaurant, or also, I guess we could write something that says, for the term of the lease, that the parking lot will be available.
I'm not your attorney, and I'm giving you legal advice, but I'll make a recommendation.
Sure.
The way a lot of those are done is that property be tied to the lease of the restaurant.
Okay.
And whoever purchases the restaurant, should you leave, should have first right of refusal to purchase that property at a fair market price determined by an independent real estate firm.
Hal has to buy it from me, if for some reason I don't want to.
Yeah, we don't take care of that, I promise.
So, just to be clear, so basically the y'all's recommendation is that, or I guess it's not recommendation, but you're saying that if it needs to be, the property needs to be tied to the restaurant because if you're allowing the restaurant to be there because of the parking. So that if for some reason the restaurant were to sell, there would, let's just say that there's, let's say there's 24 parking places on that property. We would either have to tie that property with the restaurant and sell the restaurant, or we would have to, however, create 24 additional parking places.
And the second thing, I'm sure one of us thinking about is some guy comes to town, sees that parking lot over there, loves it, and offers you $500,000 for that parking lot.
I have to tell him, sorry.
That's,
I have to tell him, if he goes to buy, if he wants to buy that, he's got to buy the restaurant.
exactly. That's the reason for tying them together.
Okay.
We'll be tied.
And I strongly urge you that, you know, I think.
Maybe this
what
would.
I'm saying is just, you know, there's a legitimate concern about the traffic.
Sure.
But I think, as Rick said, we're not attorneys.
Make-
And you need to get a
Make
legal
sure that
opinion.
whoever draws the lease also draws that, so it all ties together. And then you furnish a copy of the lease, which I will read and show that Mike, if he wants to read it too. And we'll make that a part of the approval before you get your CO. That way it doesn't slow down their project. Does that satisfy your concerns?
Right, thank y'all.
Any other questions for Mr. Hines?
But the city takes care of the angle of the parking there, right?
Not necessarily, I can talk to the designer about that. And then you guys approve.
Okay, so we need to include that comment.
We would make it subject to realigning.
Would be perfect.
I think we're good, y'all. Thank you.
Okay.
Based on what's been said, it seems to me that the motion would be in order to approve the site plan with three specific recommendations or caveats. One would be that the traffic lane width be maintained, so that we're not restricted on the angle. So that the width of the traffic lane be maintained on 4th Street.
Now, when you say maintain, that gets pretty specific. Is there leeway for a little bit of variance there?
Well, what I'm thinking is that since you've got the north side of 4th Street, the Methodist Church knocking in several feet, and as well as the south, on the other side of the intersection, you've got the traffic, and then for, I don't know, maybe 50, 75 feet on the south side of that one, they got a turning lane. And so really, it's a pretty wide, you know, traffic thing there. And I'm concerned that if you're over there and you're going to, you know, access east, that you don't get restricted somehow.
We're not gonna get on the west side of 3rd Avenue and measure the width and then demand or require that width up on the east side.
I would, that was my thing to say, how would you do it?
That's why I say that it's pretty specific.
Yes, well, I'd rather be specific that way as opposed to say, change the angle of the parking places.
Let's say realign those spaces to achieve the maximum feasible width comparable to the church.
I think it needs to be worded something to that effect rather than, and I may be wrong, but in my mind, you're making it very, very specific if you say you have the same width on the east side that you had on the west side, and you're making it doesn't give you any leeway.
We can bring those spaces back as much as 65 degrees to increase the width of the street. And that might get it within a foot or 8 inches, I'm not sure.
What I'm thinking, you may have some deviation there, some.
Understand, trust, we trust you.
Don't worry.
We go back and do this again, so we had a motion to approve, that we would specify that that all effort be made to keep the traffic width on 4th Street consistent with what it is on the west side. The east side be consistent with what it is on the west side as much as is practical. Okay. And then secondly, that a dumpster location would have to be approved by the sanitation department, make sure for access and so forth. And that lastly, that parking would, be available for the restaurant regardless of what,
As long as it's an
as
operation.
long as it's an operation. So that's kind of, in the motion like that with those three caveats.
I make that motion.
Good, good, good. Yeah, repeat. And we have a second then. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion is approved. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
The last area we're working on is miscellaneous. And the first request here is for vacate the easement right of way to the Catholic Cemetery. The request has already been read into the record. The comments from the building department are as follows. What is needed, that there's a possibility that there's a sewer easement for active sewer. The street department, water department, fire board, gas company, police department, fire department, sanitation department, co-op department, and city arbors all say, may they rest in peace. They have no comments. Rick, what's the status of the sewer issue?
Chris has taken some time to look at that. He thinks there's a possibility that may be a dead end line.
Which means we need it, right?
If it's a dead end line, they can discontinue.
They can just continue.
My suggestion to the board, should you decide to go that route, is to recommend that the council consider declaring surplus any of that is not needed by the utility departments, and let Chris and the owners determine how much they can do. Because there's obviously no need for that property ever for the city of Cullman. And he's hoping to discontinue it. As you can see, some of the grades already intruded on that. We're never going to open a street through there. And if he can disconnect those utilities and abandon those, then we would have no need for the property.
Okay.
So if you see fit to make a recommendation that, subject to the needs of the utility departments, we abandon any unneeded property, then you can let Chris and whoever's in charge of the cemetery work it out. And then they can approach the council subject to Chris's recommendations.
And I think the one other item that we putting, you're cognizant of is that this easement, this right of way under drawing there that was submitted, Robert F. and Patricia Sapp border on that, on the western end. And I would think that if that easement is vacated,
The city
they would
should
get
not
half of it,
have
or they could have the option to buy half of it, and the other cemetery would have the option
That's
to
the
buy
way
it.
we've always done it.
Just to make sure that doesn't fall through the cracks. So for this to move forward, we would need a motion to recommend to the city council that the easement be vacated as much as possible, contingent upon, based on being able to abandon the utilities that are there. And secondly, that
And let me make a request of you guys too. If you look at this, they're asking for the easement behind the building.
east-west is,
And as you can see, we have a north-south that runs through that cemetery. It seems to still exist. And this would be the ideal time for us to abandon that also. Since they already have graves and markers on that easement, it'd be nice to get that cleaned up and removed from the map.
when you go look at it, it appears that where the SAP property is, that, excuse me, on the west side of their property, that the cemetery fence line is on their property line, and that the alley there, if you will, that easement is used by the SAP's access to
And
property.
I'd recommend that section that runs, north and south along the south property remains, and just abandon what's contained within the cemetery.
Yeah. So to say that differently, if you look at the drawing, we would be recommending that the city vacate what looks like an L.
Correct.
Okay? It would be a property from 9th Street, starting at 9th Street, if you will, and you go up about an inch on the drawing, turn right and go about 2.5 inches, 3 inches.
Color picture.
Wow.
need glasses to read.
Everyone oriented on what we're talking about, the L that we're describing?
If you look at it here, see, we still have one that runs through here. We don't have that, they're already using it, so we really should have added that option. And then the other section would be running along here for the 30-foot shelter, which is another street easement, and we're never gonna go to that street. So those are the two in question.
So for this to move forward, we would need a motion that would say, we recommend to the city council that the east-west easement be vacated along with the north-south easement that goes from the current east-west easement to 9th Street.
All located in the.
No, I wouldn't say that, because you've got this one here, so you can issue. Yes, thank you.
We understand.
This right here is being used by that house, and the cemetery fence line goes right here. And you go over there, that's their driveway, and they turn down there, and they're using this house. And I don't think we want to tell them they have to pay for that. I mean, not, you know, they don't want it. That's being vacated, and that, the cemetery, you want them to have, because then they have access to another way to the house. So it's really just this L right here. Yeah.
It's basically from the northern boundary of the 30-foot street right away south is where you're abandoning that road.
I like that. So a motion to recommend to the city council that, that we abandon the east-west easement, as well as the north-south east from the 30-foot easement south.
Correct.
And that where there are joint owners touching, that property be divided off. That's the recommendation we make.
I'm in the recommendation.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
I'm saying.
Amber, I'm going to abstain from this if you can my vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Wow, made that. That's healthy.
Call me when you get the minutes.
The last item. You guys, I kind of feel like a preacher that's been preaching long, and everybody's left. You know? So thank you for bearing with us.
Can I make a recommendation on this?
Yes, sir. We'll let you get it in the record. We don't want to give you short shrift. Even though they're going to walk up and leave, Papa, we're going to get it read. Okay, the building department further research is needed, possible sewer easement for active sewer. Water department says this is possibly a sewer easement. I will have more information by this meeting, and all the other departments have no comments. Now, Rick, sure.
I talked to Chris Freeman about this. There appears to be a sewer easement where one building is being fed through the property line road. My suggestion would be a recommendation from this board that this property be declared surplus and abandoned if the current
we do make a recommendation in recommending to the city council that this be vacated, as long as the current owner and the city can come up with a way to relocate the existing utilities that are there.
Yeah, you got a question?
If I may, please. It said in his notes he would notify today's meeting, if that truly was.
That's what we know today is that there is a sewer there. That evidently that's the reason that is easement was dedicated some time back, was to allow that sewer to cross someone else's property. And hopefully you can find a way to reroute that and solve that issue. He's willing to work with you on that.
Whose sewer is it, you know?
I did not get him yet. They research it and tell me there is or it's not a problem.
I guess my question is it a city sewer or is it a privately owned?
It's a city sewer going across that property. And he's willing to try to relocate that if we can find out who's feeding into it. Maybe a way to reroute it, then we don't need that easement anymore. Option number 2 is,
Hold the building forever?
we can sell the building to the easement owner. That's not a problem.
It's not an easement, it's deed. It's not an easement, no, it's the agent land.
You know, if you look at it too, there's 2 or 3 different deeds on it that word in different ways. That's, hopefully, if we can find a way to reroute that sewer, then we don't need the property. Back in the 30s, they did it a little differently than we do now.
What if, let me ask this, Aaron, what if that land was turned into an easement, yet it was titled back
And that
to?
may very well be possible.
Is that, like I said, it clearly states, it
I read all,
legally describes the land that runs through the building.
I read about 15 deeds on that.
But that may be another option as well, so.
Sure.
We don't know because we gotta make it agreeable to the purchase.
We'll have to work with the water department, actually sewer department side.
Okay.
And any solution you can find there, if they decide to make this motion, then you can go to the council and request that they declare service. If, well, we can't do anything with it, the council has to do that. But you can make the recommendation that they reach an agreement with the, utility departments to abandon the property, which we would be declaring surplus. We can declare it surplus and sell it to him and still have an easement on it. And that clears his problem with title, which I'm sure is what you're after. Because the owner's buying a piece of property that has a tiny piece of property inside it that belongs to somebody else. That's the issue, as I understand it. Yeah. I've loud things up now.
Jim Phillips, 68, Bangor. Is it possible to make a recommendation, if we can't redirect that sewer, to declare it surplus and deed it to us subject to the sewer easement, if we could do that? I don't think John.
That's what they're going to do if they decide to make this motion, is one of 2 things. You reach an agreement with the utility department, whether that agreement be declared surplus and abandoned, or declared surplus with an easement. Whichever you can do. It may be that it's not possible to reroute the sewer. In that case, you could declare it surplus with an easement. Then you could own the property, but it'd be a sewer easement.
Like you said, that's the thing,
Both of those would be included in the.
In the motion.
Okay, thank you.
That would be my recommendation, is that you give the utility department the option to reach a settlement with them, and whichever route they agree to, then you recommend to the council that they, abandon the property or declare surplus. We're not allowed to give away property, so we have to get an appraisal and sell it to you at fair market value.
All the people for you. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? So to move forward, we need a motion that would say that we recommend utility departments agreeing on